Welcome to the commentary. This is, of course, for Who is the Better Chef? Not really one of my favorite episodes, but maybe that's why it'll be interesting to talk about. This is, of course, the great opening sequence that appears in every episode from here on out. The theme is actually inspired by the song Procreation of the Wicked by Celtic Frost. I'm going to play both of those together so you can see the similarity. Okay, enough of that. So Spenny's on the couch here, obviously. This is a mainstay of the series where they sit on the red couch together and talk, but of course Kenny is not on the couch for this one. That happens in a few episodes. This one, Who Can, Handcuffed, Bigger Fish. I think Who is Cooler. Technically, Kenny refuses to sit on the couch. In the arm wrestling competition, Spenny leaves a message and isn't there. I think that's about all of them. The pilot, obviously. You can tell it's like 8 or 9:04 if you look at Kenny's clock, which is... Spenny didn't even give him 5 minutes.
Come on, go, idiot. Okay, get out. I'll get out.
So this poster behind Spenny is of Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew. It's from 1973.
I'm calling you because I'm thinking I want to cheat. And
now Spenny's on the phone with his mother, who has since died. Rest in peace, Corinne.
I think that's a great idea. You do? Sure. You don't have a problem with me cheating?
So one thing about the series is that they do try to portray episodes as having taken like 3 days or something, but that doesn't really have to be true, or the days might not actually be consecutive. And this is a example where, like, conceivably this could have all been in one day, though I kind of doubt it was literally one.
In restaurants. What I've done is I've called up.
You can see the Silencio mask on Kenny's mantle, and there's also the white gas mask that he wears in Stay in Van.
Giving me free meals.
Also, Kenny's holding the kitty mug, which is, I think, the first time we see it in the show. There's a poster for Pitch on the wall. I would definitely recommend watching Pitch if you've never seen it. It's just a really sincerely good documentary, and you get a lot of personality from Kenny and Spenny. And there's also some interesting insight about just movie making and stuff there. So definitely watch that if you haven't.
Here's the menu.
So we are now at North 44, which closed in 2018. That may be related to how well they vetted their guests' credentials. And for some reason, Kenny is now wearing a chef's coat from North 44. But he wasn't when he walked in. I don't know why. I promise I'll talk more about what's actually happening in the episode later. A reason I don't really like this episode is because it is just a parade of scenes from one location to the other, and it's not that interesting. We're now at Fred's Not Here, which closed in 2019. Who knows, maybe if their chef had agreed to cheat with Spenny, the free advertising would have saved the restaurant. Who knows?
Well, I'm going to have to decline. I don't think that'd be fair.
He cheats all the time. He really cheats all the time.
No, I wouldn't do that.
What if I paid you?
No, still wouldn't work.
So we're now at Ooh, I think, which closed in 2004, very shortly after this aired. So who knows, maybe if they hadn't given away so much free food to a comedy host and his crew, they would have stayed afloat, maybe. The song that's playing is Bolero by Maurice Ravel. For a crude show, there's kind of a lot of classical pieces that they play.
What I was going to ask you.
And we're now at Hero Sushi, which, you guessed it, closed in 2019. So this is kind of interesting, right? Spenny's wearing an apron, like maybe the sushi chef is teaching him to do something, but we never actually see Spenny try. And I also like the idea of Spenny not just trying to overcome the moral barrier of getting someone to help him, but having to also overcome this language barrier as well. That is sort of kind of maybe interesting.
You don't understand.
We're now at Brassai, closed, 2019.
I was dying for a
Okay, so I mentioned in the last commentary how I like episodes that do things you can't see anywhere else. And this episode, unfortunately, just fails that test because there are a million fine dining or eating shows, and it's just not interesting to see Kenny go places and eat their meals. He's being a little bit funny as he's doing it, but it's nothing incredible. He's not even playing up the broadcaster is paying for this thing like they do in Who Can Stay on an Island. Now they're at Olive and Lemon, which I think survived until the pandemic, but also is now closed. So obviously I don't expect them to like plan for things to go a certain way, but one payoff for all of this would be if Kenny was like too sick from all the eating to compete or something like that. That would have at least made this meaningful, but that's not what happens. Instead, nothing really happens at all, really.
It is
with
filled
this.
with some of the finest culinary cuisine in the city.
So Spenny walks into the Panorama Lounge, where he finally finds his accomplice. The Panorama Lounge is, of course, closed. An interesting fact about it is that it's at the top of a building that sits between two street corners, and on one of those street corners, Spenny busked for change as a monkey, and on the other, he's saying, "Don't forget the children," holding a lollipop.
You know I'm not a cheater, but you know what? He's got it coming.
So Spenny's plot in this episode is that he's feeling emboldened to cheat because Kenny is a cheater, so he's going to try it himself. But it's like one of the first episodes of the series, so you don't really have the context that Kenny is a dirty cheater yet. So if you're going in cold, I think that's kind of a problem, and it doesn't hit the same.
Oh my God, it would be unbelievable.
And that's another reason why I don't like the episode. I think it was just put too high up in the order, the air order, and I don't really feel Spenny's desperation yet. And yet he's going for the desperate measures. Just doesn't seem fully warranted.
Mother, your son is home. Help me,
So this is, of course, Safi. So I guess both of their moms appear in some form in the episode, which is kind of cute. In response to people asking if Safi was okay with being on the show and like doing weird stuff, Kenny said that she was fine with it, but her friends who saw the show always thought that she was stupid for doing it. Which I think by definition makes her incredibly based.
Show you how to make hummus. 2 cloves of garlic, some lemon juice.
So we're seeing Safi make hummus, which also happens in pitch, oddly enough. So if you're hungry for more Safi making hummus content, that's another reason to watch that documentary.
Voila, that's your hummus.
Let's try it.
It's a hummus.
So there's a crew person here that I don't really recognize.
I'm gonna kick his ass, aren't
One thing that the episode has going for it is that at least it's funny to see Spenny try to cheat and still lose. Like if they played it totally straight and Kenny just wiped the floor with him, that wouldn't be too interesting either.
Is shocking. It's
Especially considering Kenny doesn't do anything special or interesting in order to wipe the floor with him. He's just a better chef. Like in the fart episode, Kenny is a bigger farter, so you'll know he'll win. But he at least makes it interesting to see. Like he just totally decimates him. And in this episode, I guess that kind of happens.
these are words he's never used.
But
He certainly never applied them before.
it's not that crazy.
I applaud you, Kenneth.
The new Seaway Fish Market was forced to close temporarily in 2013 because there was a rat infestation, and it is now permanently closed. So maybe it never opened back up, or the rat problem got really bad, or whatever. But yet another one closed. Okay, so let's scrutinize Spenny's cheating strategy here. So first of all, I'm impressed that it works out as well as it does. I feel like the microphone is an easy thing to pull off, but the little camera must be hidden well and secured so that it doesn't get pulled back and up into his hat and then the picture gets obscured. And then also because they're shooting a television show, it isn't that suspicious that there's like equipment on or around him in the kitchen. There's some dates on his dry erase board that imply that this was shot in April or May of 2003, and it aired in September. So that's not, I mean, that's not like crazy, but that's a pretty quick turnaround time. When you read into how the show was put together, it's pretty clear that they were like scrambling to make 27 episodes in a season. So that gives some context to that.
There is a heavenly Father looking down upon me.
So the competition itself takes place here in the Great Cooks Cooking School. If you don't know why I'm bringing that up by now, you'll be surprised to hear that it too has since closed, likely in disgrace after failing to catch Spenny cheating. So if you're keeping score, I think that means that literally every business that they visit in the course of this episode has since shut down. And I don't really know what to do with that, but if I have to live with this information, so do you.
Very, very subterranean.
This poor guy is Spenny's only chance at winning, and Spenny isn't even like helping him unload the truck.
All this myself. I told him I was up all night doing this, and I think he believed me because, like I said, he's never gonna suspect that I'm.
He's just like standing there awkwardly.
I am in the midst of making Sophie's famous hummus.
So even though Kenny is clearly the better chef and more food-oriented, it was Spenny who was invited on to be a celebrity judge for Top Chef Canada. And in his appearance, it's kind of funny because if you've seen any reality show like Top Chef or whatever, if there's a celebrity, they always show the contestants like introducing and fawning over what big fans of the celebrity they are or how much they love the show. And anyone that's actually a fan of Kenny versus Spenny would know, even if it wasn't kind to say, that Spenny was the loser of the two. So it makes their fawning reactions to seeing Spenny seem really disingenuous. Not to shit on Spenny, like I do appreciate him, but it comes across as not very aware on the part of Top Chef Canada to like play it that way. The funniest part in all of that is how Kenny reacted to it, because he thinks it was an outright mistake. Like, the Top Chef Canada people wanted to get Kenny, but didn't know which guy was which, so they accidentally invited Spenny instead, which is pretty funny in its own way. I actually think that Spenny's doing a pretty good job at cheating here. Like, the way he covertly asked if everything was running okay. He also recognizes that Jeff might not be able to hear Miriam's question, so he repeats it, and then he relays Jeff's answers pretty well too. Like, he does a pretty good job of it. Okay, in like 3 seconds, you're gonna see the judge of the actor competition walk by in the background. There she is. So we know her as the judge of the Who's the Better Actor competition, but she was initially hired as a researcher or production assistant or something. You can see her in a few different episodes other than Who's the Better Actor, and other than this one too. There's also a guy like milling around in the kitchen with them in a white coat. You've seen him a couple times already, and you're going to see him a couple more times. I don't know who he is. He's like a sous chef or something for the guys. I don't know. So we have Sophie's hummus recipe. Kenny has also posted his ribs recipe. The third one that everyone wants is the hot chili from Biggest Fart, of course. Here's another reason why I don't think this episode is very good. I've said many times, and it's kind of obvious, that the best episodes are ones where Kenny and Spenny are interacting a lot, because their relationship is like the highlight of the show. But Kenny wasn't on the couch at the start. They had like 2 brief exchanges, and then they like said a few sentences as they started cooking, but that's it. So like, they're in the same room together, and Kenny's more or less just leaving Spenny alone and doing his thing, and it seems like a missed opportunity. You can see that guy in the background in that shot. So we see Jeff make this dish earlier, like very briefly, and Spenny's is a little bit off. I think for 2 main reasons. One, it's like way too tall, and also he's got this like huge pile of chard on top.
That's wicked looking. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was nice of them to invite the couple from American Gothic to be in the background.
Very pro.
So the premise of this episode is for Kenny and Spenny to be like chefs creating fine cuisine. But I think a different take that would have also made a good episode is if they did something like who's the better line cook, and they had to like work in some greasy restaurant together. And it could be like Better Soldier, where they have some Gordon Ramsay type watching them and giving them a hard time, and one of them would be more front of house and the other more embedded in the kitchen, or maybe they'd do both and switch partway through. I don't know. I think that would be funny, like the idea of Kenny making Spenny's life hell while they're stuck in some tiny hot room filled with pots and pans. It's almost imperceptible, but I think Spenny tries to pull this door open, but it's a push door. Watch and tell me I'm crazy. So Spenny's coach being in quotes, was appointed as executive chef for the Art Gallery of Ontario in 2013. I don't know if that's what he's still up to. Right now you can find like advertisements to hire him as a private chef. So if you have any like job that might require him to help you cheat, you're free to hire him for your services as well. Okay, so this music is the overture from a Rossini opera called The Thieving Magpie. So Kenny serves them 3 dishes, and they all look really great, and Spenny just sits there and watches the judges love them.
So first impressions on this dish?
Nice presentation. Looks very, very fresh.
So Ken, this must be your famous chili.
This is my famous chili on champagne cheese. It's a 2-bean chili with just tomato, onion, black bean, and black-eyed peas.
The idea of the cheese wrap is very neat.
These are my burnt black molasses ribs with garlic and red wine.
This is a chef-type dish.
And it's not overworked.
No.
It's just very nicely grilled.
The Asian twist.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Wow.
As critical as I've been of this episode, I do like Spenny's bug-eyed resentment of losing that's on display at this point.
It has been my honor to serve you guys, and thank you so much for coming and participating in the show. I can't thank you enough.
Everything is delicious.
Like they're in a totally different room and he still has that look on his
What's
face.
the humiliation?
The couscous was fine with the vegetables in it. The duck was undercooked. Now, I would not attempt to cook a duck breast. It's very difficult to cook duck breast. I think the dish was very
I think you could say that food columnist Marion Kane was the very definition of Tishi, disappointed in the cooking of the duck meat. Some of you will get that reference, some of you may not.
Kenny did really cook very naturally. It just came to him.
And I loved Kenny's ribs. I'm going to get
So you can see Kenny talking to that guy in the background right here.
Competition.
He's like in a chef's coat and stuff.
Almost
I don't know who that
guaranteed
is.
Considering he was going up against somebody who's got some talent cooking.
I forgot to salt the duck.
The duck was not cooked enough.
I find it interesting that Jeff, the chef who helped Spenny cheat, is sitting in with Kenny and Spenny after judging. So you can like see the back of his head right here.
We are ready for judges.
So Kenny knows about him to some extent.
Judges, who's
Okay, so let's play the same game we played last time. How else could this episode have ended? We knew from the beginning that Kenny was a really good chef and Spenny was going to cheat. So there's not too many things that could have happened. So for one, Spenny could cheat so well that he actually beats Kenny, who is a good chef. But I don't really think that he could do that even by cheating, so that kind of makes sense that that doesn't happen. The second thing would be Spenny would be caught cheating maybe, and Kenny would win by disqualifying, but that doesn't give credit to Kenny for being a good chef.
Completely horrible and degrading and humiliating.
Like, I don't know, maybe he knew he was cheating or had suspicions and just didn't care, but what ended up happening is what happened, right? He did cheat, didn't do anything, Kenny won. I guess my point is just that the episode unfolds in a realistic way, but that comes at the expense of it being at all interesting.
Oh, it's so disgusting.
I think there are 2 types of good humiliation. There are the ones that are inventive to watch, like when Kenny pretends to diarrhea on Spenny's face, or when Spenny smokes the hair joint. But those humiliations don't always seem like the grossest or most cruel. So I think the second type of good humiliation is one that you really just wouldn't want to have to do because it's so gross. So that's why the cream of mushroom soup humiliation is probably the best or worst, because it's both deviously creative and disgusting. Anyway, I say all of that just to say that I'm really repulsed by cat food, and so I think this is a good humiliation for the second reason, because it just comes across as really gross. It also fits the episode thematically, and I like when episodes do that, like they fit the subject matter into the humiliation. So there are some other times where they have to eat or ingest something, right? Like Kenny drinks the underwear coffee in season 1, Spenny eats Kenny's vomit, Kenny licks the birdie turdy, Kenny eats a booger, Spenny eats sushi off of Kenny's ass, Spenny eats the pew biscuit, Kenny eats the pig snout, Spenny eats the poop corn, and then there's of course the cream of mushroom soup humiliation. I guess Spenny also licks the handle of the porn shop, but he's not ingesting anything, so I don't really count it. Anyway, I think like as far as everybody's reaction to any of those, none of them are as violent as how Spenny reacts to the cat food, and I think that's kind of funny.
1, 2, 3, do it.
I can't do it. I eat this.
Hey, so anyway, that's the end of this commentary, I guess. If you can't tell, I'm gonna skip episodes if I don't have much to say about them, and I might also like take hiatuses between all of them. I think that's for the best. I just don't want to waste everybody's time. I do want to credit and thank members of the community, and especially Prims, for putting together a map of all the locations visited throughout the series. That's really helpful and made it easy to find all the places they went to. So you should check that out if you haven't. It's really neat. And I also want to thank you for listening.